Hey, this is Lewis from Breakdance, and today I want to show you what's new in Breakdance 1.1. We're planning to ship Breakdance 1.1 at some point in late November, and you can get the beta right now from the customer portal. We have a ton of great new stuff for you, including advanced custom fields and Metabox repeater fields. Build it visually inside Breakdance. We have multi-step forms. Here is an example of a multi-step form. We made tons of enhancements to WooCommerce. We improved the quantity inputs. We added a quantity input to the mini cart. We added the ability to do product list as sliders. You can put a quantity input in the products list as well. You can use individual elements to build your WooCommerce cart page. Here I have a cart contents element. Then I have a separate element for the cart totals. I've got a testimonial in there and a div with a heading as well. Same for checkout. We have individual elements for the WooCommerce checkout element. So we have the billing form, the order review. You could throw in testimonials or whatever you want on that page, the payment form, shipping form, everything you need to build totally custom cart and checkout pages. Have you seen this much included with any other visual builder ever? No, of course you haven't. You could easily be spending $500 a year on add-ons to get all the functionality that's included in Breakdance. So buy it now before we jack the price up, because I promise you that is going to happen. We have 7 new elements for you, including a content toggle, a fancy container that allows you to do like fancy backgrounds, like a slider background. It's basically a div. You can put elements inside of it. We have a scroll progress, numerous other elements. Here we have a table of contents element for you. We improved compatibility with other plugins. Any plugin that uses the template include hook from WordPress is going to work much better with Breakdance now. We made tons of other enhancements. We have friendly names in the structure panel, as you can see right there. We added the ability to create draft sections. You can edit HTML in the rich text editor. Let's go over to a rich text editor, go to the HTML tab, edit the HTML. You can make your tabs vertical now. Any tabs, just go to vertical and they go vertical, and many, many more enhancements, which I'm going to be covering in more detail in this video. So buckle up, get ready to party. It's going down over the next 20 or 30 minutes. I'm going to show you all of these new features in more detail. New in Breakdance 1.1, we now have full support for advanced custom fields, repeater fields, and Metabox repeater fields. So here I have a listing. I have a site with some property listings on it. I'm adding my listing template, previewing a listing. It's got a gallery. It's got all sorts of data. And I have a rooms repeater field. So let's go into the WordPress admin and take a look at that rooms repeater field. Here's my listing. I have many of them. And I have a rooms field. Each room has a name: master bedroom, guest bedroom, master bathroom, kitchen, living area, etc., and has an image. This is a repeater field created in advanced custom fields. And I want to loop through this repeater field and display each room name and image in my listing. So let's go to my listing template, and I've added a new section called rooms. This is where I'm going to display each one of them. And I'm going to add a new element called a repeater field. So here's the repeater field, and this allows me to choose a global block that's going to display for each item in the repeater field. It's also going to allow me to choose a field to use as the source. Let's create that global block first. So I'm going to go to Breakdance Global Blocks in the WordPress admin, and I'll add a global block. I will call this Room Repeater Cart. Let's add the global block and edit with Breakdance. And I want to preview the same listing that I'm actually editing here. So I'm just going to search for this listing, 85 Lindero Canyon Road. So let's go ahead and do that search, 85 Lindero Canyon Road. And this is going to allow me to preview any dynamic data associated with that listing when I'm editing this global block. Okay, for the rooms, we're going to do a column-based layout. So I'll add a columns element, 2 columns. Let's make this one a little smaller. And let's add in a text element. And let's set this text element to the room name. So we're going to go to the dynamic data chooser. We just click the database icon. We get to the chooser, ACF. We have our rooms repeater field shows up right there. We choose the name. And there we go. The room is displayed. Okay, let's go ahead and add in the image. So let's go to column. Let's go to image. And let's go to image and click the database icon. And let's go to the ACF rooms repeater field and choose image. And there we go. Here is the image. So we're editing the global block, room repeater part, previewing the 85 Lindero Canyon Road listing, and we have the name and the image for the room. Okay, let's go back to our listing template and let's display this as a repeater. So go to listing, and I already added in my repeater field. That's the repeater field element. Now we're going to choose the repeater field we want this element to source from. So in the field, repeater field, I'm going to choose rooms. And then I'm going to choose the global block we just created with our name and our image. So here that is, room repeater part. Let's choose it. And here we go. Beautiful repeater field. It's easy in Breakdance. This supports advanced custom fields and Metabox repeater fields. Here is the repeater field again for reference in the WordPress admin panel. In addition to displaying your repeater data in a list, you can also display it in a grid or a slider. So let's go back to the repeater global block and adjust the design a little bit. Instead of a columns element, I'm just going to add in a heading with the room name. So let's go back to here and choose name. And then I'm going to add in an image. I'm going to set that to the room image. Let's make this an H4, and let's go ahead and save this. And now let's go back and go to the refresh button to refresh that repeater field. And okay, here it is stacking vertically. Let's now go to the repeater field design options, go to list and go to layout. Let's choose grid and let's do 4 items per row. And now we have a grid of this sort. We probably want to make that text a good bit smaller, don't we? Let's go ahead and save that. And maybe 3 items per row is better too. And there we go, 3 items per row. Or maybe we want to make it a slider. Let's just choose slider. And here we go. Here is our slider of all of the rooms. Beautiful. If we want to do multiple slides for views, we can just go to settings, advanced, and let's do 3 slides per view. And there we go, 3 slides per view. And maybe we want to go item and add some padding onto those items to get some space between. And there we go. We now have a slider from an advanced custom fields repeater field. Let's take a look at the new multi-step forms feature in Breakdance. Now that Breakdance has multi-step forms, it has the most advanced forms functionality of any visual builder ever. You can do multi-step forms, conditional fields, lots of different field types. Let's take a look. So add a form builder as usual, and we get our default contact form. But let's say we want to make this a multi-step form. Let's say we want to add an additional step after these fields. Well, what do? We just add a field, and we're going to choose the step field. It's at the very bottom, choose step. And for the label, you can put whatever you want. I'm just going to put step 1. And any fields you put under the step are going to be in that step. So let's move that to the top. And now we have step 1 with name, email, and message. Let's add another step. Say step 2. So we're going to add another field, choose step, label, step 2. You can customize the next step, the previous button text, the icon for the step, etc. Okay, let's drag message into step 2. And now we have step 1. You go to the next step, you get to message. Let's add step 3. So again, I'll add another step field. I'll just call this confirm. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be step 1, step 2, step 3. And in confirm, I'm going to add in, I don't know, maybe I'll add in a phone number field, and maybe I'll add in, a radio field or any other field type. Let's just go add for demo purposes and choose a radio field. My radio, let's add a couple of options, option 1, and let's duplicate that, just call it option 2. And now let's go next step, and there we go. Multi-step forms in Breakdance. All the data goes wherever you submit it, just like it normally does with the actions for email, storing the submission, integrating with your marketing platforms like Mailchimp, ConvertKit, etc., etc. And then you can customize the styles of the form stepper by just going to Form Builder and then go to Form, and under Other, you now have Stepper. You can customize this. You can hide the stepper entirely, just the width, the alignment, the step styles, the divider styles, previous button styles, next button styles, everything you need to build beautiful multi-step forms. Let's take a look at the new WooCommerce Checkout elements. So by default in Breakdance, you don't even have to create a WooCommerce Checkout page. It's just going to look good by default. You can also add in a checkout page element. That's what I have here, and that'll show the checkout page, and then you can customize. But new in Breakdance 1.1, we're providing individual elements for each part of the checkout page: the order form, the payment details, the billing form, etc. So let's delete the checkout page element, and let's go to add and add a new checkout builder element. This is going to allow us to build our checkout page using the checkout billing form, checkout order review, checkout payment, and checkout shipping form elements. So when you add the checkout builder, it actually adds all these elements for you, and then it also throws in an icon list and a testimonial just to give you an example of what you can do with these elements. Let's open the structure panel and take a look. And as you can see here, we have the checkout billing form, the checkout shipping form, the checkout payment form, the checkout order review form in columns with an icon list and some testimonials just for demo purposes. So you can move these around as you want. You can put them wherever you want. You can put the payment details over here on the right if you want. You could move this over here. You can put them in different columns in completely different sections. Total customizability of the WooCommerce checkout. In addition to the individual elements for the WooCommerce Checkout, we've done the same for the WooCommerce Cart. So again, in Breakdance, by default, you don't even need to create a cart page. It's going to look great by default. It'll look just like this, or you can add in a cart page element to display the default cart and customize. But if you want further customization, we're providing individual elements. So go to Add, type in cart, and you'll see we're now providing cart contents, cart totals, cart cross-sells, cart empty message as individual elements. So let's delete this. Let's add in a columns element. Let's choose 2 columns. And in this left column, let's add in the cart contents. And there we go, cart contents. Okay, let's make that a little bit wider. That looks good. Okay, in the right column, let's add in the cart totals. And then you could add cross sells down here if you want. You could add an empty message up there. Totally up to you. Customize this as much as you wish. New in Breakdance 1.1, you can display a WooCommerce products list as a slider. So you just go to layout, and by default it's grid, but you can choose slider, and there you go. You got a product slider, and you get all the usual customization options you have for any slider in Breakdance. New in Breakdance 1.1, in the mini cart, you can add an element above the cart contents and below after the footer of the cart. You just choose a global block, mini cart after title bar and after footer. So let's go to global blocks and let's add a global block. I'll just call this special offer mini cart block. Let's add the global block and let's edit this with Breakdance. So let's go ahead and add in a section, and let's just add in a heading. We'll say special offer. And for the background color, let's just set this to the site's brand color. And let's go ahead and make this text white. And let's center it. And let's make it a bit smaller. So we'll just go with H3. And let's save this. And now we want to display this special offer mini cart block in our mini cart. Well, we can do that. We can go to mini cart after title bar. Let's choose that global block. And let's open the mini cart, and there we go. And let's say we want to customize that design. Maybe we want to take off a lot of the space. So we'll go to spacing. Let's just go 12 pixels of padding on either side. Let's save this. And with the new refresh functionality in Breakdance for the server-side rendered elements, you can just hit that refresh button and it will reload, and you can see the update to your design just like that. New in Breakdance 1.1, we enhance the products list with a quantity input. This is optional. It won't appear by default because most sites probably don't want a quantity input in their products list. But if you do want it, you can just go to WooCommerce in the global settings, go to other products list, and then enable the quantity input. You can also do this on a per products list element basis. For example, you could go to products list, elements, and then under quantity input, you could choose to enable or disable the quantity input. It's going to be disabled by default, and then you can set it globally in WooCommerce other products list quantity input. We added quantity inputs to the mini cart by default. So the old layout, the old design for the mini cart, it looked okay, but the lack of a quantity input was a bit annoying. So we just added a quantity input in. These are fully Ajax, so you just click and it's going to adjust the quantity, update the price for you automatically. Beautiful quantity inputs in the mini cart by default. Let's take a look at the new WooCommerce quantity input styles coming to Breakdance 1.1. So here is the old input style. It's just the browser default number input with the up and down. Looks fine, but in Breakdance, we care deeply about design. So we wanted to upgrade the quantity input. So here's what you get now with 1.1. A beautiful quantity input with the minus and the plus. And that's going to appear by default automatically. You don't have to do anything to enable this. It's going to appear everywhere WooCommerce quantity inputs appear. So on the cart, on a product page, in the mini cart, and you can customize the styles of these inputs in the global settings. So I'll just do a demo of the customization right now. You go to global settings, WooCommerce, forms, fields, And then under advanced, you'll find quantity input. From here, we can customize the styles of the quantity input. So let's go to buttons. That's going to let us style the plus and minus. And let's give these a background. Let's just choose a light gray. And there we go. Already looks good. Let's give it a height. We could hard code a pixel value or enter in a percentage. I'll put in 80%, and that looks pretty good. We could choose no overlap, and that's going to position the buttons outside. For that, we'd probably want to use 100% height. That looks pretty good as well. We could also get rid of the space between the inputs. So we could go like 0 like that. In that case, we probably want to take off the border radius. So go to borders, set the radius to 0. Let's use the same background color as we're using as the border color. So let's turn this down a little bit. And then let's copy this. Let's just go to the quantity input itself, go to borders. Let's paste that as the border color. Let's make the borders 1 pixel solid with no radius. And then you get that style. It's easy to customize these as much as you want. We can adjust the icon color on hover as well. If we don't want to use that brand color, we could just give it a black color on hover. And look at that beautiful custom quantity input in about 60 seconds. It's easy with Breakdance. You're going to love the refresh button we added to all server-side rendered elements. So any element that renders on the server, there's going to get a little refresh button in the title bar. You just hit refresh to refresh it. So this is great if you're building a post loop, you add something to your global block, and then you want it to show up. For example, here's my global block for that post loop. Maybe I'm going to add in a featured image right up here. So let's go to the image. Let's choose, well, actually, I want to set this dynamically, don't I? So let's go dynamically, and we'll just set this to the post featured image. And actually, let's put this out of that wrapper div like this, so we get that kind of effect. Let's save, and now let's go back to the slider loop and refresh, and voila, image is appearing. Same if you're editing a cart page and you want to see how your cart looks with more items, for example, just go to the front end of your site, add a few items to your cart, come back to that cart page, hit the refresh button, and there we go. I want to show how to use the new draft sections feature in Breakdance 1.1. So here I am on breakdance.com, and let's say I wanted to duplicate this testimonial section, and maybe I wanted to redesign it. So here I go. I start customizing the design, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not done with it. I don't want to publish it yet, but I still want to keep it in the editor. Well, what do? I can now go to Settings, Advanced, and Enable Draft. And it'll now show up in light gray as a draft. Let's save this page. And when we go over to the front end, as you can see, that draft section is not appearing, but in the editor, it appears and we can edit it. When we're ready to publish, we just take it out of draft mode and save. So that should help your workflow. The structure panel in Breakdance now supports friendly names. So here I am in the structure panel. This is my hero section. So let's just double click. I'll call this hero. Let's go to the next section. I'll call this testimonials. Let's go to the next section. I'll call this features. Next section, CTA, that stands for call to action. Next section, testimonial 1. Next section, integrations, and so on. You can customize anything you want and give it a friendly name. You can even give elements, not just sections, a friendly name. So I call this heading, title, for example. And that's honestly overkill, but it's good to name your sections depending on how big your page is. Makes it kind of easier to see what everything is in the structure panel. So that should help your workflow as well. We added the ability to paste settings to the right-click menu. So you've always been able to paste the design. Here I have a purple heading. I could always hit copy, and then I'd right-click and hit paste design, and that'll bring over the design, but it won't bring over the settings. And most of the time, you don't want to bring over the settings. So here are the settings. Here I have this ID set, and you'll see if we go to the settings of the element where I just pasted, it didn't actually paste that ID, which is good. We probably don't want to, but sometimes you do want to paste the settings. Maybe you've set up some conditions that you want to paste, or maybe you want to set up some animations that you want to paste. So let's demo that. I'll just add a condition right here. Post ID is 69. Apply those conditions. And now we can copy. And now we can just paste the settings. And it won't paste the design either. So let's change the design just so we can see. And right-click, copy. Right-click, paste settings. Doesn't touch the design, but it pastes the settings. Let's take a look at the new Fancy Container element in Breakdance 1.1. Fancy Container is basically a div with some additional background options. So here I have a Fancy Container and I've set up a background slideshow. As you can see, it's animating the background here. And instead of being the entire section, it's just in the container. So on a section, if you go to background, you have video and slideshow background options. But if you add a div, of course, you don't have video and background slideshow options because a div is just a div, right? It's an HTML div. It's not additional elements. So we couldn't support that because the HTML structure necessary doesn't make sense with the div. So we added a fancy container element. This element behaves very similar to a div. It's got the same layout options, same container options, text color spacing, etc. But it also has that extra markup necessary for slideshow backgrounds and video backgrounds. It'll allow you to achieve effects like this, where you have a slideshow or video background inside of a column, for example. Let's take a look at the new table of contents element in Breakdance 1.1. So I have a blog post here. This is a relatively long post with a number of headings. I'm editing my blog post template, and I want to add in a table of contents. So I'll add in a table of contents element. And here's my table of contents. It's going to detect every heading on the page and display them in a hierarchy. And I can just click any of the headings, and it will take me to that heading. It'll scroll the page. So let's go back to the table of contents and customize. So first thing we're going to want to do is, under advanced, we don't want to include every heading. We only want to include headings in the blog post, right? We don't want this. We don't want anything down here. So to do that, we'll go to the section containing the headings we want the table of contents to actually detect. We'll go to settings and we'll give it an ID. I'll just call this my TOC area. Then we'll go back to the table of contents and let's scroll down to it again. It scrolls to wherever you click. We'll go to advanced, and in container selector, I will enter in hashtag my TOC area. And there we go. It's now only going to show us headings in the TOC area that we specify. We can go over to design to customize the design. I can go to container, customize the way it looks, the background, etc. I can go to header, disable the header, etc. I can make it fixed. That's going to make it appear free floating on the page. So it's going to be there and it's going to scroll with us. We can go to UI improvements. It'll take us there. We can go to general fix and polish. It'll take us there too. We added a new Instagram post element. This will allow you to embed an Instagram post. So let's go to Instagram post, add that to the page. Here is a default post, and you can just go to Instagram, find any post you want to embed, go to that post, copy the URL, go back to Breakdance, paste in the post URL, and there you go. You will embed an Instagram post in Breakdance. Let's check out the new content toggle element. So let's go to add and search content toggle. Let's drag that onto the page. And here we go. This lets you switch between two types of content, any content. By default, it loads up some pricing tables. And as you can see, when we choose monthly or yearly, it shows different prices. And this is actually showing entirely different pricing tables. So here are the monthly pricing tables, and then here are the yearly pricing tables. So to make it really obvious what's going on, I'm just going to go to accent and change the accent color to purple on the yearly pricing tables here. Let's go accent again and make that purple, and then switch again. As you can see, totally different pricing tables. You can put whatever you want in the content toggle content elements. So you also have design options. Go to design, and under layout, you can choose the width. You can fade the content when you toggle. You can customize the switch. You can make the switch wider or narrower, change the height, the padding, the radius, the background when the switch becomes a vertical switch, customize the label typography, the active color, the spacing, everything you need to do beautiful content toggles. Let's check out the new breadcrumb element in Breakdance 1.1. So you go to add breadcrumbs, and let's drag that onto the page. And this integrates with Yoast SEO and RankMath. Let's choose Yoast because that's a plugin I have installed on this demo, and it's going to give us the breadcrumb from Yoast. There it is, SEO friendly, coming from Yoast, markup comes from Yoast, and you can just style it in Breakdance, customize the container, the typography, spacing, everything you need to make beautiful breadcrumbs with Yoast SEO or RankMath. We also added a back to top element. This is similar to scroll progress. Let's just go to back to top and add that to the page. And there it is. And when you click it, it'll take you back to the top of the page. It also indicates your scroll progress. You can choose your type, scroll progress. You can just have an icon. It's just a little up button like that. Icon plus text. It says top. Then you could add an icon, customize the text, adjust the scroll offset, choose what selector it scrolls to, if not the actual top, and adjust your styles, whether it's sticky, where it actually appears. For example, maybe we want it over there, maybe we want it over there, depending on our design, adjust the styles of the button, or if you choose icon, customize the styles of the icon and the button, or if you choose scroll progress, customize the styles of, everything you need to customize for the back to top styling. There it is. Looks great by default, highly customizable, disappears when you're all the way at the top of the page. That is the new back to top element in Breakdance 1.1. Let's take a look at the new scroll progress element. So here I'm editing a blog post template, and I have a number of relatively long blog posts on this website. So maybe I want to add a scroll progress indicator. To do that, I'll just go to add and search for scroll progress. And let's add that to the page. By default, it's going to appear at the top and show a scroll indicator showing how far you've scrolled down the page. You can also make it display as a circle. There is our circle. You can show a percentage. You can make it relative to the page or a specific selector that contains your content. You can customize the design of everything, the direction it goes, style of the percentage, where the container appears, where it's aligned. Maybe we want it at the bottom, for example, so we could do that, how we want to space it out. Super customizable. That is the scroll progress indicator element, new in Breakdance 1.1. We added vertical support to the tabs element. So to make the tabs display vertically, just go to the design option, go to tabs and choose vertical. And the tabs will then be vertical tabs just like this. You can choose when they go back to being horizontal. Let's make them horizontal on tablet portrait. Let's go down to tablet portrait. And there we go, horizontal tabs on tablet portrait. And of course, you have your normal responsive options to, for example, show it as a drop down on, say, phone landscape. So let's then go down to phone landscape and voila, drop down, horizontal tabs, wider screen, vertical tabs. And the vertical option is available everywhere tabs are available in Breakdance. So here I have a WooCommerce product page. I've created a WooCommerce product layout with the product builder element. Here's my product tabs element, and I can just go to the design option, tabs, and choose vertical. And there we go, vertical tabs for a WooCommerce product. We made significant enhancements to the video element for faster load times. So let's say you embed a YouTube video, and then you run your site through a performance testing tool, and you'll see that YouTube is loading all this JavaScript from Google, and then Google, their own performance testing tool, will ding you for loading Google's product, YouTube's JavaScript. Super annoying, but anyway, it's the way it is. We've addressed it in Breakdance by giving you a couple options. The first option that you're going to see new in Breakdance 1.1 is to lightweight embed the video. So this actually is going to simulate the look of the YouTube player, but it's not going to load anything from YouTube except the thumbnail. No YouTube JavaScript. It's only going to load that when you actually click the play button. So let's choose lightweight for that load method. And it still looks like YouTube, but this actually isn't loading anything from YouTube. It's just the same styles as YouTube, but the only thing from YouTube is the thumbnail. No YouTube JavaScript. You can customize that background image if you want to even load that from your own server. And if you want it to look more like the actual YouTube embed, you can choose your own channel icon and title. So for example, I'll enter in the video title, Breakdance Overview, and that's going to show up exactly where the YouTube title would. And then for logo, I'm going to choose my YouTube channel icon, which I already uploaded, and choose. And there we go. Looks almost exactly like YouTube, but it's not YouTube until you click the play button. We also have lazy load, which is going to load the full embed, but only after you actually scroll to the video on the screen. So it won't load until you actually scroll down the page. And I recommend using lightweight for most cases. If you need to do the full embed for whatever reason, then you can just choose full embed, and this will load everything from YouTube. It'll say watch on YouTube, watch later, share, etc. But this is going to load a bunch of JavaScript on your page, which you probably do not want. In Breakdance 1.1, we added a previous slide and next slide link action. Not a lot of people know this, but you can actually control sliders in Breakdance with links. So for example, let's say I added a button, any type of button, link, whatever. You can go to settings and you can make the type action, and then you can open a pop-up. You can control a slider. So let's choose control slider. I'll choose my slider, and I could go to the specific slide. That's the way it was in 1.0. So I go to slide 3 or I go to slide 2. But now I can choose to go to next slide and go to previous slide. So let's make this the next button, and let's copy this and make this the previous button. And you've probably seen designs of super fancy sliders where the buttons are like absolutely positioned up in the corner of the screen or something. Well, I'm not going to do that in this demo video, but you get the idea. You could make a link, you could put it anywhere, and then you can use that to control the slider. For example, next, previous, previous. You could absolutely position those. You could stick them in a div, make them float. You get rid of the default nav on the slider by just going to your slider options. This will work for any element with a slider. And you just go to arrows, and we can just turn them off. You go to pagination, and we could just get rid of that as well. And then you can control the sliders with those buttons. In Breakdance 1.1, we made significant enhancements to plugin compatibility. We made plugin compatibility enhancements for events plugins, LMS plugins, and many other types of plugins that use custom template files. Any plugins that load their own custom template file now will work with Breakdance right out of the box. You won't have to make any customizations or even set up the templates in Breakdance. They'll just work. So here I have the events calendar installed. I'm looking at the events archive, and it just shows me all the events. I can go to the event page, and it shows me the events calendar events page. This is from the events calendar. And if you go to templates and Breakdance in the WP admin and then templates, you'll see I didn't set up a template for this. I didn't do anything to set this up. This is just a default Breakdance install. I set up my header. I set up my footer. The header is going to appear. The footer is going to appear on the bottom. And then whatever the plugin provides is going to appear right there. You don't have to do anything to get this to work. It will just work for many plugins that use template include in a common way. So this should cover the events calendar, other events plugins, LMS plugins, and various other plugins. In Breakdance 1.1, we added an HTML view to the rich text editor. So here I have a rich text element. Let's open up the editor, and I can now go to the HTML tab, and I can put anything I want in here. A number of users asked for all sorts of HTML customization options and additional toolbar buttons up here. So this was added for them. Now, I highly recommend you go to practicaltypography.com and you read Typography in 10 minutes, and then hopefully the whole book, but at least Typography in 10 minutes. Stop fucking up your designs by putting a bazillion different styles of text and, using this rich text thing. It's not good. It's not good design. It's not professional. It's very amateurish. Don't do it. If you look at any professional website, it's rare that they're going to use heavily formatted rich text. So this is there because users want it. If you guys want to shoot yourself in the foot, be my guest. But in general, I don't advise this. Also, you can add in a text element and you can edit the HTML. This has always been possible, but not a lot of people knew that. So you can just type in any HTML you want into any type of text field, and it will be displayed as HTML. In Breakdance 1.1, we added two new keyboard shortcuts, Command D to duplicate and Command B to open the design library. And that's Control if you're one of those losers that still uses Windows. But if you're cool like me and you use a Mac, it's going to be Command D, Command B. You can hit Command or Control, Command Shift, question mark, and that's going to open the keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. This was always here, but not everybody knew about it, so I just want to mention it in this video. You can see all of the available keyboard shortcuts in Breakdance. But anyway, Command D to duplicate. So Command D, Command D, Command D duplicates. Or design library, Command B, get to the design library instantly. All right, that's what's new in Breakdance 1.1. Thank you very much for watching. You can get the beta from the customer portal. We appreciate everybody who helps us test. The way our release cycle works is after we do a release, we'll usually work on features, then we ship the beta, and then during that beta, we fix all the bugs. So you can expect over the next couple of weeks, any bugs that have been reported on the tracker that we deem worthy of fixing in Breakdance 1.1 are going to get fixed. A number of those bugs have already been fixed in this beta. We're going to post a detailed changelog when we release 1.1 final, but for now you can expect a number of those bugs to be updated on the bug tracker, noting that they're fixed over the next couple weeks as we just finalize the beta into the release candidate, the final version, and keep everything organized. Okay, this is Lewis from Breakdance, and thank you very much for watching.